Hello y'all and welcome back to Boa's Bikers channel. Today we're not in Belgium anymore. We left the country and we went to the Netherlands. Yeah, I know it's not that far, but hell yeah, it's another country. Today will be a very flat ride because in the Netherlands we don't have that much of elevation. Especially the area where we will be cruising, and that is Zeeland. So that is the southwest part of the Netherlands. These are the views that we will be expecting today. Flatlands, farmlands, all around. As you can see, we're in a traffic jam because the bridge is open. Look at the sign up there. That's something we will see a lot today. Water. We are in a part of the Netherlands with a lot of water. Over there we see the dunes, so we are close to the sea. And that's a big part of the tour today, the sea. Some bunkers. Look at those horses all tucked away in the tall reeds. If you've watched my previous videos, you've noticed how lyrical I was about the beautiful landscapes in the Vlaamse Ardennen with all the hills and the beautiful wide views over the rolling hills. Well, I also love this country. The flat, vast landscapes of the cornfields, but also the flower fields like over there. It's just quite smooth riding here. Just look at this beautiful flower fields. Just take a look at these beautiful small roads all covered in hedges. Nice, cool, green. What more do you need? This is the life. Freedom on your motorcycle. And now we are arriving in Zoutelanden. So Zoutelanden got very famous a few years back, I think it's 2 or 3 years ago, with a song from Bluff featuring Gert. And look at that! If you've watched my previous videos, you've seen a lot of windmills in the Vlaamse Ardennen. They were used to mill or grind grain. These windmills here in the Netherlands are used for something completely different. They are not milling mills, but they are pumping mills. They were used to pump the water from one part to another part. So the Dutch, they have created a lot of land by putting up some dams and then pumping the water from inside of the dams to the other side, and create a lot of farmland that way. But of course, that land was beneath the water level, so they had to come up with a system to keep it dry. So they used the windmills to pump out the water and keep it dry that way. So they gained a lot of land on the sea. But that endangers the land, of course, to floods. And if the water level keeps rising with the climate change, well, more than half of the Netherlands will be flooded and disappear underneath the sea level. And here you see a tower that looks like a church, but on top you see it's a lighthouse. I also prefer the Dutch coast because here they still have sea, beach, dunes And then they have buildings, and a lot of times they have cute little towns. In Belgium, most of the dunes have disappeared and they've put high risers instead, so flats. It's just one big concrete thing, and I don't like it. Just look at this landscape, so beautiful, and you don't find this anymore in Belgium. It's all gone just because of buildings. I can smell the sea air, the saltiness, the iodine in the air. So nice. Look at this. Ooh, these are pretty horses. I like the robust horses, not the fine running, jumping horses. I guess the beach is busy. Look at this. They're parking in the meadows, in the fields. And then typical for Holland, of course, bikes. A lot of bikes. You see another mill. Ooh, birds of prey. Look, 3. Circling away. Just take a look at this vast, flat landscape. Look at this. So flat. Amazing. These are the outsides of a town called Veere. That's our first stop. We will be having our lunch here. And again you see a mill. Of course these mills were also used sometimes for milling the grain, not only for pumping. I don't know which mills are for milling and which are for pumping. I'm not the expert. Just look at this. That's where we were earlier. You see the church, the other side of this lake. The Netherlands is also a country that puts a lot of effort and invests a lot in green energy. And that's why you see a lot of wind turbines in the countryside of the Netherlands. Especially here in the flatlands near the sea, where the wind has free range. They can make a lot of wind energy. And at the beginning of our trip I told you about the problems with the water the Dutch have. Well, here we are at a part of the Deltawerken, the Delta Works. In 1953, in the night of the 31st of January to the 1st of February, there was a big flood due to a storm. So it was high tide, well, it was super high tide, and there was a storm coming from the sea that pushed all the water into these big openings of water into the country. So you have a few big estuaries, I think it's called in English, coming from the land, draining into the sea. And all the water got pushed into these openings, flooding a lot of the southwestern part of the Netherlands and a smaller part of Belgium. The Dutch decided that it was enough. They didn't want this to happen anymore, and they started the Delta Works. And the Delta Works were meant to close off all these, well, almost all of these openings into the land. They left open the Westerschelde because that's the part where the ships have to go through to the harbor of Antwerp. So we just drove over one of the walls they built, but they just didn't build closed walls. They can open them so the water can flow in and out, but when there is another storm and high tide, they can close it off so no water can get into the country and flood it. There in the distance you see a second part, and we will be driving over it in a few minutes. So you see the concrete pillar over there? Well, they built several of them on land, and then they dragged them with special boats, special barges, into the openings, and then they dropped them at certain intervals so they could put some things in between to close it off. So we are now driving over the second part of the Deltawerken. See, to the left there is the sea, and to the right there is one of those estuaries from the land draining into the sea. And each of these things here is one of those pillars, and you see that there are white pipes on top of them. That is to raise and lower the doors in between, so they can raise them and the water can flow in and out, and then they can drop them, close them, so that the water can't get in or out. But in normal circumstances they are open. Only when there is storm and high tides they close it. And here you can also see that the Netherlands is a biking country. You have one lane for cars in each direction, but you also have a very big lane for the bicycles crossing this, let's say, bridge. It's almost as big as the whole road here. So also the water to my right is brackish water. So it's a mixture of saline, seawater, and fresh water. So it's brackish. So that's all, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to keep up to date with all that I'm doing, and please leave your comments down below. See you later.